In this lesson, let's go ahead and learn and understand how you can create your own custom images, how you can create your own custom web applications, how you can clone applications from GitHub. Let's say your customer gave you a GitHub repository and suggested you to clone the GitHub repository, customize that as per the requirements given in the requirements document. How would you do that? How would you create containers from the container repository is what we'll understand here. All right, so let's get started. I have the Azure CLI opened up here. So I'm going to launch this in a new session so that I get a better view and a better screen. All right, so while it is loading, I'm going to take you to another page, the GitHub page, where it's also considered as a sample repository. So all you got to do is go to github.com/azure-samples/ACI-hello world. Okay. So once you navigate to that place, you will see that it is a sample Node.js application. This is only for demonstration purposes and just for you to understand this whole concept better. So what we got to do is clone this GitHub into your own Azure subscription. So I will navigate to my Azure shell and then use the git clone command and paste the URL, which is github.com/samples/hello world. Okay. Now, Git executable is something that's already installed inside the Azure Cloud Shell, so you don't have to worry about installing it again. Okay. I'll hit enter, see what happens. It's going to take less than a minute to go ahead and clone it for you. Looks like it's already there. So let's see if there are any directories under that. We have a new directory called as ACI-hello world. So I'm gonna navigate to that folder. Okay, so that's not what we want. Okay, so we've got to navigate to ACI-hello world and do a dir here. Then you will see that there are exactly the same content that we had in the GitHub, right? The same thing. Now I'm going to show you one little thing here. So if you do code space dot and hit enter, it's going to take you to a folder view, let's say, where you can look at the contents of the file. For example, if you would like to look at the content of the readme.md in this web page, you'll just click on it and then you see the content. But here you got to use code dot to then look at the content and then click on this file. Thereby you'll be able to view the content. All right. So code space dot is a command to view the content. Let's take a look at other files now. Now, if I navigate to the app directory, under that, I've got the main index.html. Now, this is the URL. For example, if you look at this, welcome to Azure Container Instances. Yeah. So you can go ahead and customize this, put your own HTML content right here. So what I'm going to do is change the title as, let's say, peaceful world. And you can also change the headers. You can show all your HTML skills and Node.js skills here. Okay, but I'm going to keep it simple. Serverless world here. Okay, and that's done. So what I can do is just go ahead and save this. And then there are other files that includes the index.js. There's a JSON file as well. And finally, there's a Docker file which controls which image should it use, where should it copy the files from, what is the working directory, etc. And also, where is the Node.js file located. All right, that's great. So let's go ahead and close this editor now that we have made the changes inside index.html. Right? Let's try to make an image out of this data. All right, so how I'm going to do that? And if I have to do that, where can I host it? Well, you should be hosting it inside a container repository, in Azure Container Repositories. So first thing that we're going to do is go back to Azure account and then create a container repository. Let's do that. Click on this and then in the search box, type container registries, all right? Click on add and then just follow through the wizard to create a ACR or Azure Container Registry. My resource group is the same thing. Type a registry name as new app. Looks like new app is already in use. It must be unique. So I'm going to add some number and that's accepted. I'll leave the location as it is. Admin user, I want to enable this one. so that as an administrator, I would be able to connect to the container registry. I can leave the SKU as standard, that's fine. Now under encryption, the CMK or customer managed keys is disabled for me because it's only available under the premium option. So if I click next now, then I will be able to use the customer managed keys. But because this is just a demonstration of using a container registry and we're still learning, I'll leave it as standard, move next and go past through the encryption. Leave the tags, create, and then finally after validation, click on the create button. So I'll pause the video for now and get started again once the container registry is created and ready for use. Okay, so the deployment is complete. I'll click on the Go to Resource button, and this is my container registry. Under this container registry, I do not have any repositories at this time, so this should be empty. There you go. So the objective is to create an image from this content and host it here inside this repository. Then using that image, I want to create a container instance. Okay. I must also be passing certain access keys. Like I would be using this password and the username so that my container instance can connect to this container registry with the help of these set of credentials. I'm going to show that to you in a minute. But for now, let's go back to the Azure Cloud Shell and create an image and host it here. So that's the step one now. Okay. Let's get started with that. So I'm going to use the Azure CLI to build that image. The command will be az, and then I want to manage ACR. And what I want to do is build an image and call that image as, let's say, demo, as, let's say, customized image. And this will be hosted in my registry. And what's my registry name? My registry name is new app 121. I'm going to copy and paste it there like that. And then this will be a Docker file. Okay, let's hit enter and see what happens. All right, as you see, I've got an error. It does not have the source location, so it needs to know where the Docker file is. Now you can either type this entire path, or I can just do a dot next to Docker file that represents that the Docker file is located right here in this path. All right, that's what it means. So I'm going to hit enter again and see what happens now. So it has already started packaging it, creating a image, and then it's going to host that into the repository. And as you see the name here, new app 121.azurecr.io is the name, if you notice it carefully. Okay. All right. Preparing, pushed. Should be there anytime. So while it is doing this thing, I'm going to be really curious and go back to my container repository, go to my repository and refresh this to see. There you go. So you have your custom image, and the CLI execution is also completed. All right. The name is customized-image. So my web content is right here. Now what I got to do is pull this image into Azure container instances. All right. With the help of this command, we were able to build the image and push it to the repositories, and from here we're going to pull into Azure container instances. So I will type container instances here and then start creating a container instance that connects to my Azure repo services. All right, so my resource group is sales, and create a new container app. I'll call it as creative apps or something. Leave it as Western Europe. And this time I'll be selecting Azure Container Registry. And if you notice, it has automatically picked up the registry here because that's the only registry we have. The image is automatically selected. Image tag is also selected. So if you wonder what that is about, I will just navigate to the container registry and show it to you. So this is my container registry. Scroll down and then under repositories, you got the image, right? You click on the image further, then all the versions of that image will be listed. So it could be V1, V2, V3, and the latest as well. So as developers keep on modifying this image and start making changes to it, you will have different versions to it. You can deploy different containers with different versions. In this case, I've selected the latest version, which is nothing but an image tag. Alright, so we have already discussed these options when we started this discussion about container instances in the previous lessons as well. I'll click on next and then give it a public DNS name. Call it as Creative Apps. Alright, leave it as port 80, advanced, and finally click on create. Alright, the deployment is submitted. I will hit the pause button and resume once it is completed. Looks like the deployment of container instances is complete. Let's click on go to resource and then pick up the public IP address or the DNS name. I'll copy this and then go to the browser, paste it there, and see if we get our customized web page or not. There you go. So it now has our custom page, which is welcome to Azure serverless world. That's what we type inside the code. And then in the title as well, it says peaceful world, if you notice that here, right? So that's what we typed in the code. Now, it just means that there are different entities that are connected here. And those entities are Azure container instances, and then the images which are hosted inside the container registry. The developers will go ahead and modify these custom images as and when it is required, as and when there is a requirements document. And this can be done with the help of commands that are available here. So you modify the code, update it, create an image, update to the container repositories or the container registry, pull it from here to the container instance and start hosting your web application. That's how quick that is. Traditionally, you had to spin up multiple virtual machines and then create applications, install dependencies and all that stuff, which was really cumbersome. But in today's world, with the help of containers, this has become really easy ball game, at least from the administration and the infrastructure perspective.